Hello, so I'm back. I thought I'd do one more of these just because I had thought of a little bit more to talk about. And when I left off, I was talking about this other correspondences chart that has just a bunch of random stuff that doesn't really fit as well on the main circle or the game circle, but still correspondences to other systems that I had found. And one of the systems that doesn't fit the best is the Zodiac. And when I was talking about it in the other video, I wasn't really prepared because I'm just doing these on the fly. And I didn't really prepare the whole conversation. And so I felt like I didn't do it justice. So I wanted to do three things in this video or this discussion. I wanted to revisit the Zodiac because I looked up a little bit or reminded myself of what I was thinking or the parts that I had missed. I also noticed there was 4 other words on here I forgot to mention and talk about, which are physics-based words: time, space, matter, and energy. I want to talk about those. And lastly, there's like a heat pump effect or some other things that I started to build off of these correspondences. And I'm going to use the other circle for that, and I want to talk about that. This will probably be a short one. A lot of the other ones are around 20 minutes. This will only probably be 10 or 12 or 15 minutes. But let's see. I say that, and then it's 22 minutes, you know. So let's hit the Zodiac first. So the main thing about the Zodiac is, and I couldn't think of the other words before. I was trying to remember fixed, cardinal, and mutable. And one of the 3 I forgot last time. They're aspects of the Zodiac. But in any case, this chart, because the Zodiac is 12 and the Zodiac rotates through fixed, cardinal, and mutable, and the Zodiac does not put the elemental signs together, they're spread out equally around the year. And because they're 12 and this is 8, they're not something that actually maps to this circle really well in the way that they're presented in their normal fashion. However, out of curiosity, I had said, well, let me just see where the animals and the symbols that are associated with those signs, if I could fit them together, and what happens if I just group all the fire, air, earth, and water stuff. And I thought that fit pretty well, but I didn't do the best job of explaining it last time. And it's still not perfect. Again, I have a little lenience with some of these things. It's the academic and the game circle that I try to get tighter and tighter, but some of this other stuff, I just do the best I can with it over time, and I see if it fits or feels right or adapts or whatever. So on the on the Zodiac, I think the way I had fit them in, and I knew some of the resources I used. A lot of it was Wikipedia, and some of it's stuff I knew or I had from other places. And I still couldn't find all the references that I thought I had when I had put these on there, because I felt like I had found even more correspondences than I could go back and find now. And I knew I really felt they associated better when I did it. Now I still feel okay about it, but I couldn't remember them all. But I found a few that I had forgot when I was making the first discussion. And I just got my mind kind of back in the sense of it when I was putting them on there. So again, Taurus, I'll do the easy ones first. Taurus went over here because it was just a bull and earth and green, and it made sense that Taurus was in the hills and was directly related to earth to me as one of the earth ones. Because if earth is over here and I have these 3 to place, Virgo, Taurus, Capricorn, why and where do I place them is kind of my question. Is there any logic that ties them to one position more than the other? And I felt out of the 3 of them, the bull is just the earthiest of the signs. And it made sense in the hills to have the bull. Pretty simple on that one. But then between Virgo and Capricorn, so one of the things that gave the Capricorn away and why it's down here versus up here is that the Capricorn is the goat. Okay? And there was 1 or 2 of the signs. I couldn't remember if it was the animal, was the sheep or the goat or whatever. I was getting them a little mixed up. I knew the ram was over here, but I didn't have it 100%. In any case, the Capricorn is the goat. But if you look it up, it's not actually just a goat. The original symbol for the Capricorn was the sea goat. And it's a half fish, half goat creature that's right next to water here. So the water earth sign, if you will, or the earth sign that also had this sense of water towards itself, is why the Capricorn is down here versus up here. Whereas Virgo, the Virgin, or I think there was a couple other symbol or references to, I forget the Greek, who it was, that Virgo refers to. But one of the symbols of Virgo is Virgo's in the fall, and Virgo is often associated with wheat. And so up here is the plains, and that's where you'd grow the wheat. and this is the winter side of the circle, but autumn and fall is up top. So, okay, Virgo's not technically in the fall, in the autumn. It would be up in one of these spots, but we're going by the element, not the season that it's in, because 2 out of each 3 will be in the wrong season because I'm putting all the elemental things together. But Virgo still felt better to me up here as being wheat and near autumn, whereas Capricorn felt better to me down here being the sea goat near water. So that was some stuff that I forgot last time that I wanted to mention, is like how I originally said, okay, Virgo's up here and Capricorn's down here and Taurus is in the middle because that's all Earth. Then on the water ones, that's pretty easy. I mean, fish is Pisces, and so that's water. It could be any of the 3, but that's like the most watery one. And when you think of fish, that's just water, so I put it in the middle here. Cancer is the crab, which was also like the scarab beetle. But to me, the crab always associates like the Tropic of Cancer and summer and things that are warm. So the crab is like the warm water thing getting over here towards the beach, because this is the island section of the chart. Crabs are in the island, and crabs are towards summer. And scarabs and beetles are towards summer. So that made more sense to me. And then that defaults Scorpio over here. And how can we make that fit? It kind of fits. It's still a land. Out of the creatures like the crab, it's a land water kind of thing. Now, scorpions are traditionally the desert. However, it turns out that scorpions are also found in the entire climate of the whole world, everywhere pretty much except tundra, which is kind of bad because this is the tundra area where Pisces is. But I often thought of scorpions as desert and jungle. There's a lot of jungle scorpions. And this used to be the treelands area, and it's the valleys. And so because the crab fits better here and the fish just makes more sense in the middle, it kind of made more sense that Scorpion and Scorpio was over here. And there was a few more things that tied it together too. Scorpio is often associated with life and death, and this is the life section and the death section. And Scorpio is often associated with sexuality, and this is the sex and reproduction area, kind of up here, more towards Capricorn a bit, but still on this side. And so I thought, okay, that's not so bad. Out of these 3, if I had to organize them, that's where they ended up that way. And I had forgotten some of this stuff on the first conversation, so I figured I'd come back and do a better job with it, just to explain a little bit more and make another video. So then you have your 3 fire ones over here: Sagittarius, Leo, Aries. Sagittarius was because that's the archer, and this is the archery area on the game chart. I thought there might have been a little bit more connected to that area, whether it was social stuff or money or something, but I can't remember right now. But it's mostly because it was the archer area. The ram, Aries, was because this is the mesa area up here, and the rams are like highland creatures, and goats and rams. Now again, the sea goat's over here, but ram is also like a highland kind of plateau or mesa kind of creature, or mountainous creature, and here's mountains. So maybe again, these aren't perfect, and I've switched them around a little bit over time. Lions in the mountains. Now, lions kind of maybe more of a plains creature, which would put it somewhere over here, but we're doing it by element, and lion and fire is associated right in the middle here, and I thought lion was good with just the fire in the middle. You may want to switch these 2 and argue that the ram is better up in the mountains and the lion's better up in the mesa and plateau. I could see that. This isn't set in stone, so maybe eventually I'll switch to Leo and Aries. I think about it. But I know there was some other reason that I couldn't find again as to why I put lion here. But again, I can change my mind, and the more I think about it, I might want to switch these 2. So I'm still not sure on that one 100%. And then lastly, you have Gemini, Aquarius, and Libra. Well, out of those, the air ones, I couldn't find as many references again, other than Libra is autumn and is typically next to Virgo anyway, so I left it over here because that's closer to this fall and winter side of things. And because Libra was balance, the scales, and the balance and omni, the little bit of everything, and the balance is on this side of the circle. So that was another big reason why Libra was over here. And I guess I should jump back and say too, Cancer works out nice. They don't all work out this way, but it just happens that Cancer works out nice. That it's like So if this is winter over here, for example, then winter kind of starts up in this corner here where space is. And you could argue and play games like, do I put the winter solstice up here, or do I put the solstice in the middle of the thing and start winter where you put the word, or does that word represent the whole quarter of the circle, and so therefore winter starts back here? You can play around with that a little bit. In any case, I typically kind of say that, okay, if winter's over here, then this is the middle of winter, and this is the start of winter up here. And so this would be the solstice up here. And that puts the summer solstice over here right by crabs and where all the heat and stuff starts when you go from spring to summer. So Libra's kind of near that. So in that sense, that's, again, it doesn't quite match up because Libra would be the fall equinox, and that would be kind of back here. But again, I couldn't find as much on these. Again, the Aquarius is the water bringer or the cup bearer. And let me just check my time. Yeah, this is going to be 20 minutes anyway. Libra is the water, or Aquarius is an air sign, but it's the symbol is the water bearer. And I just put that directly opposite water because it's like the idea is that the cup contains the water and the air contains the water in the mythos of the picture. And that, I forget who it was, Zeus or somebody came down in the form of a bird as part of the myth, and that's why it has to do with air. But, and then Gemini, the twins, I know there was some more stuff that why I had put that over here versus over here. Again, Libra felt better over here because what kind of defaults Gemini over here. But the only other connection I could find was that Gemini is often connected to communications, which is this side of the circle, or the third house, I think it was. And so anyway, I just wanted to touch on those again and do a little bit better job, especially the sea goat part, because I thought that was interesting that the water goat one, the water land one would be over here. So a little bit better job on that. Not perfect, but still just wanted to kind of regurgitate it. So then we're going to get into these two parts go together. So I'll spend about 5 or 10 minutes talking about this. And this is just another effect of something that I was developing. So once I had this model, and I'm going to switch to the other picture in a second, I wanted to use it. And I feel like if this model is a good model to model, I'm saying model a lot, but if it's a good model to capture the natural world, and that's what I'm trying to do, take the natural world and human knowledge and everything and put it on this in this system, then maybe like as above, so below, or vice versa, as below, so above. Maybe the model of the natural world models the parts of the natural world, or maybe there's some kind of fractal or reciprocal kind of recursive sense of a model that's holistic that says something about nature. And so let's see how much time I got. About 7 minutes. So part of my background was math and physics, and I like theoretical models of physics and theories of everything. Obviously, I'm into theories of everything here. This is a universal system. But I also like physics theories of everything, and, whether it's whatever your theory of everything is physics. You could go string theory or grand unified theory this, or quantum gravity, and whatever your all-inclusive model is trying to get to, excuse me for a second. I'd have to make a whole video on physics stuff. I could do that just to talk physics. But the very short of it, and I'll give it here, is what are the basic units of physics or the building blocks of a new physics model? Or if you were going to rehash physics a bit and start from the ground up, how would you build your model? And in physics, a lot of it has to do with, like MKS units or things like that, meter, second, kilogram. But I have this model, and there's a guy who made a video on it years ago, not about my model, but about something similar, and how the units change and what are the fundamental units and all this stuff. I'm going to go quick here, as I want to get to the heat pump part, or the 4-cycle pump, and then end the video on that. But a model that I like to pursue breaks down all of physics into space, time, energy, and matter. It's like they call it a STEM model: space, time, energy, matter. STEM, STEM. So I like this space, time, energy, matter model of physics. And so that got me thinking, well, where does space, time, and energy and matter go on here? Now, these ones have shuffled around a bit. Right now, you see them in the corners: lower right, lower left, and upper right. I think other times I've had them off-centered a bit or up top. I've moved them all over kind of near where they are, back and forth, arguing to myself where the best place for them and which angle I want to have them rotated on. However, I still think this is the best. Space is up near the space side because this is Earth and space is generally on this area over here. So this is the space. If I had to put space, time, energy, and matter anywhere. Now, matter is often associated with also this area, with the very beginnings of matter up to the cellular matter. But if space is best up here and matter is over here, then that kind of means matter still has to be over here. And this makes sense, and I'll explain why, too. In the bit of just the physics model, why would I put space, time, energy, and matter here? And I want you to remember here that this matter represents the spot between earth and water. So between a solid and a liquid. So I think that's another reason why matter can fit here, because it's that transition of what we typically think of matter is, sure, all matter is solid, liquid, and gas, or plasma and Bose-Einstein condensates and stuff. But it's still often the traditional idea of matter is the solid part of stuff, not the energetic part per se. And so a solid is the most matter, or maybe you'd say Bose-Einstein condensate or something. But in general, of the three traditional solid, liquid, and gas, solid is, which is over here, is matter. So space and matter seem to fit here. And then time is up near light because, all your equations like E equals mc squared and photons, and the faster you go at the speed of light, time slows down and all this kind of stuff. So time makes a lot of sense there, which kind of defaults energy over here. But that's not so bad, because this is where your sun and your energy cycles start and all the heat and warmth. And we're going to talk about this. And I said, if you look at the game chart, you'll know that this bottom part represents movement. And this is going to get into the last topic I wanted to cover, which is this 4-stroke cycle or heat pump cycle that you get, that you see from the seasons and from this space-time energy matter thing. So let me go back to one of these other pictures for a minute. Here's the main picture of the circle. This is going to go a little bit over, but not too much. I'm at 17 minutes or so. I might get up to 22 or 23. So this last part, this is starting to build an object in this universal physics model or some kind of other model based off of this. But I noticed something interesting that happens. A lot of things in nature are that 4-stroke cycle. The seasons, which we have on here, are 4 seasons. Your heart is a pump that has 4 chambers, or it's a spiral thing. It's a helix or heloid that's twisted in a double spiral, wrapped in and around into a big muscle, but it acts as a pump with 4 chambers too. And there's a lot of things in nature that tend to be this 4-stroke, or engines. We make basic engines in 4-stroke. You can get 2-stroke or more and this and that, but a lot of things that fit with this 4-stroke idea. And heat, a basic engine in the heat cycle. When you start to learn thermodynamics in the heat cycle, I think it had 4 phases, right? Like adiabatic, intake, outtake, or whatever it was. But so here's the idea. From just thinking about it in seasons, and it's going to be better to go back to the physics page, but thinking about it in seasons, winter is everything's cold. Then you're adding energy and you're heating it up. Then it's at its hottest point. Then you're taking energy away and cooling it down. And you go from winter to spring, you add energy, you get to your most energy, summer, you cool it down, you start getting windy in autumn, and then you cool off and you're back to winter. Okay, great. But if you think of that in sense of matter too here, and your space-time energy matter, or space matter, space-time, I did it in the wrong place with the mouse, matter, energy. Your matter is the hardest and heaviest and solid over here where it's completely frozen. And it's got not a lot of energy, and it's all just in its condensed matter form, right? It's all potential and no kinetic. And it's your most densest, coldest matter is winter and matter. Now, as you add energy to a solid, you eventually go from matter to liquid. And this is the water part of the circle. And so you'd think is adding energy to matter and going, this is your add energy phase. This is your solid phase. This is your add energy phase. You turn to water. You're adding more and more and more energy. This is the steam area over here. And right from steam, you start to go to gas, right? And then you add more and more energy and you've turned it into a gas. And as you go more and more, you start to separate the electrons and turn it into a plasma or some other exotic form of matter. But you're stripping the electrons away or breaking nuclei apart. But you're going from matter to energy. And then at the end of summer, or once you start taking the heat away, it does the opposite. You've got this thing that's mostly energy, and you're cooling it off, and you're condensing those particles, and you're condensing it, and it cools back down, and you get a solid again. So, and I'm just looking at my time because I kind of want to stop here, but I wanted to give that basic idea of the 4-stroke system where it's like solid, heat up, gas, cool down. Solid, heat up, gas, cool down. And I'm only stalling for a minute because I think there's a lot more I could say about this, or I did in my head at one point, and I don't know how much I want to get into it now, or I had remembered more at a different time when I was thinking about it. So, but this is the time I like to keep these videos, so I might just cut it off here. If I can remember that other part, even if we go another couple minutes, that's okay. This isn't going to be as short as I wanted or thought. It doesn't matter. But if I think about it, I'll make a whole physics video on it. It was something to do with, I know what it was. I just don't have it on the top of my head enough, top of my brain to pull it out right now. It has to do more with like relativism in physics, and how the faster you go, like this model, this 4-stroke, placing these things here. I think if I remember right, I was getting it to start. And this is some of the most recent stuff I was working on, but I was starting to get it to fit in with relativity and the idea that the faster you go, you have like length contraction or time slows down or whatever. The slower you go, time speeds up, and things that are affected by this are mass. And I was able to start thinking about relativism or relativity and make it fit this cycle of like, and I'm trying to do it on the fly, but my mind's not going back to it as fast, talking to you and wanting to do it in like 1 minute. It's not going to work. But, but if I get that back, I'll come back and make a video on that, because I could spend a whole video just making a physics video. But in any case, these are the things I wanted to go back over in this. I wanted to touch on the Zodiac again. I wanted to mention these 4 words, and I kind of wanted to mention and why they were there, and I kind of wanted to mention that there's definitely this 4-stroke cycle of heat and expand, and then cool and contract. And so I'll leave it at that. I think I've mostly said now all I want to say for the basic explanations of all these circles, the game one, the additional correspondences in the original one. And at this point, the only thing I really have left to talk about when it comes to these circles is the board game I was starting to make on it. And I could make a few videos on that and pull up some things with the boards and just to for fun to talk about them and make some content. I also might make some more math videos. They're really long and just me talking about math formulas to the few papers that I wrote. But I haven't done one yet on the twin primes or the prime numbers. I was recently working on some of the other prime stuff, Mersenne and Sophie Germain and all that. A lot of those problems are very similar. So I might make a couple videos about the prime paper I have. That could easily take 2 or 3 hours or 4 hours of chat. But next I'll probably either do, the prime videos, a few other papers I had, or just talk about the board game. But for now, this is one more. I hope you enjoyed it. It's just a rehash of some stuff. And feel free to comment or ask questions. And thanks for watching. Have a great day.